You should hang out with me today because today I'm exposing the myth about working for exposure. Whether you're a graphic designer, an illustrator, or any type of creative, you're going to have somebody come across to you and say, I really like your work. I've got a very big project coming up. I could use someone with your talents. It'll be a lot of exposure for you. Right there, you should have a red flag. Right there, you should be like, oh, hell no. We are going to have to talk about money because money is what unfortunately makes the world go round next to love and fat bottom girls. A great man once said,
if you're good at something, never do it for free.
And he was absolutely right on everything, but mainly about working for free. So I've been doing this for a while and I've kind of grown a different take on this subject, or at least a different rhythm that I've noticed than other people. So I want to share that with you. I am not 100% doing something for exposure, but you have to choose your battles. You're going to be the one to choose that this opportunity is what you're going to approach and not allow other people to approach you with this amazing opportunity. Now, it's a known fact I used to be a comedian. As a matter of fact, that's how I got into Photoshop. The way I got into Photoshop was I used to do gigs at bars and, well, anywhere really, but I used to do them at bars, and people at bars don't promote crap. So what I had to do in order to make sure people came in, I would make flyers, and then it just snowballed from there. Now, one of the comedians I used to work with went ahead and started his own tech business. And he came up to me and said, hey, I'm interested in your work. I would like to hire you to make a logo for my business. And I was like, hell yeah, that works. We can do that. And then I never heard from him again until I got a very odd Facebook message. And when I mean odd, I mean I wasn't alone. I was in one of those group chat things with 9 other people. I guess I should be proud that I made the top 10. What was happening was he was asking everyone to design a logo for his company, and then the one he liked the most, he would then pay for. And he would pay handsomely. So this technically does not fall under the concept of exposure, but when I heard what he thought handsomely was, it might as well have been. A lot of business owners are going to do this to you, and unfortunately, there ain't much you can do about it except politely decline. I don't understand the logic behind someone wanting to sit back on a throne and look across his kingdom and what the peasants have made, and then find a design and then say, that is the one I like the most. The rest of you can leave. Or maybe it's even more of an ego trip and he wants to go to like each and every one and be like, I kindly exited myself from the group, and I got a message about 2 weeks later. It was him asking me where my submission was because he was super excited. Like, mine was the one he really wanted to see. And he was a comedian, so I had to kind of explain this to him in comedian talk. This is what I said. Kidding. No, here's what I said. Hey man, I wanted to work on your logo, but I'm actually working on a tour. I wanted you on the tour. Oh yeah, man. Well, the shop's not open yet, so yeah, we can totally do that. Planning on hitting 15 cities. Hell yeah, man, let's do it. But here's the thing. The city that we get the most applause in is the one I'm going to pay you for. And his reaction was volatile, pissed. He thought that was the most unfair thing on earth. And then I stared at him until I realized he wasn't hitting the ironic level of comprehension. And that's when I asked him, so how's that any different than having 10 designers bust their ass and do their work for you to say it's not good enough? To take time out of their day, time out of their families to say it's not good enough. Well, I was going to pay them. The amount these people don't know what they're worth is the problem. And when you don't know what you're worth, that's how you wind up taking gigs for exposure. But it's not actually like that all the time. You can take jobs for exposure on occasion. It really all depends on what it is. For instance, if you want to help out a charity, then you go ahead and you do what you feel is right. But if you go to help a charity and you're doing it for exposure, you're kind of a piece of crap. You're starting graphic design, you're dabbling, you're playing around with different programs, and you're trying to figure out a way to make some cash. So you're also looking for something that's very low risk, as opposed to having to replace things. I may or may not on occasion have misspelled something on a business card. I screwed up. I also misspelled exposure in my Instagram story. My Instagram story was asking about, has anybody worked for Expose? And when is it acceptable to work for Expose? And have you ever worked for Expose? The thing is, it wasn't actually misspelled, so my Grammarly didn't pick it up, and I was just like, ah, crap. But none of you told me. So here's the thing. When it comes to, let's say, a logo, and that logo is going to be put on everything. Let's just say it's a coffee shop. You design a logo for a coffee shop. It's sweet, it's beautiful, it's elegant, its font is just, everything about it just, I just really want some coffee. It's just, I actually really want some coffee. That's actually what it is. You make this amazing logo, and what happens next? That company, that person, those people are going to take it, and they're going to put it on shirts, on cup sleeves. Everywhere you go, your logo is going to be there, and we're going to be like, damn, I made that. Now, if you did that for exposure, how the hell are you supposed to get your exposure? It's not a tangible product. Hey, so this is a vape shop, right?
Yes.
I know nothing about this stuff. So how much is this again?
About 50, 60 bucks of juice.
Okay, now that's $50, $60. How much is that in exposure?
What the fuck?
There's no way that anyone's going to glance at it and know exactly who it was. Do you know who made the Nike logo? No, you don't. No one does, unless you're into this type of thing. Her name is Carolyn Davidson. When shouldn't you do something for exposure? When you finally entered the world of freelance and you decided that I need to pay my bills with it. There's a couple of reasons why. You've been able to get to a point as a designer where your services are wanted. And if your services are wanted, you no longer have to believe that you suck. We're always going to believe we suck. I know what I just told you was basically trying to make out with a unicorn, but it's still the same thing. In the beginning, you're basically okay with doing stuff for exposure, but you cannot keep that up because it undervalues everybody else who's actually trying to make a living. And when you do so too often, you are viewed as a pariah. If you want to know why some of those people in your design school are not fans of you, it's simply because you're doing stuff for free and you're doing stuff for exposure. But when you do stuff for free or for exposure, and your peers are getting more and more agitated with you and a little snippy, take it as a compliment because they actually think you're really good and worth more than what you're charging.
And you don't want us exposing ourselves.
Why, yes, my Instagram's in the description. Thank you for asking. So please remember, exposure, in the beginning, you're just trying to get your beak wet, no real consequences. You want to just kind of test the waters, see if this graphic design thing is even something you're going to be interested in. Then absolutely go for it. You do you and have good times with it. But keep your ear open to all of your peers, not just the ones that you grew up with, not just your family. You need to listen to everyone. And when they say you're really good, you shouldn't be doing it for that, that's when you leave the exposure game behind. You absolutely cannot keep doing it because those people who are on the next level where they're trying to make it a living, it undercuts them badly. And then if you thought you get side-eye from before, it can be worse. So if you still run across people that want you to do work for exposure because they have this amazing idea, or their business is going to take off and everything's going to be amazing, or they've been in business for a few years and they want to redo their logo, but they want to give you a chance, kid, you need to remember, if they have the clout to drive work to you simply by being somewhat associated with them, then they have the ability to pay you what you're worth.
Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth.
But you got to be willing to take the hits. Time for me to get off my soapbox. Well, that is about it for me for today. So if you have your own exposure stories, please leave them down in the comments. I'm totally curious on what crap you've been asked to do for free. Links to my Facebook and Instagram will be in the description, also with links to my Etsy and my TeePublic. Anything you buy off of those, if it tickles your fancy and you want to order it, please feel free to go ahead and do so, and know that each and everything you buy goes back into the channel and to feed a small Puerto Rican child. So if you found anything I said in this video to be inspiring, uplifting, or even comforting, be sure to hit that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to my channel. Be sure to donkey punch that bell to be notified every time I come up with a new video. And most importantly, no matter what you do, for free or for pay or for anything of your own enjoyment, just remember, be good. We're good at it. You crotch punch that bell and be sure to check out all the upcoming shows that I'm coming up with. So close. So if you found this episode inspiring, shit, like, subscribe, hit the bell. It's hot. So if you found this episode, make sure you hit the like button and press the bell and subscribe if you haven't already, and remember to be good.